Hello, and welcome back to Healthy Vibrations, a platform that brings together trailblazers and changemakers who are here to effectuate our youth. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with Shaney Andler, the writer of Back Pocket Tools, a book that every teenager must have in their room, in their bookshelf, and every parent should be promoting this book to their children. Shaney is a teacher at a leading child and adolescent psychiatric hospital and teen mental health advocate who has made it her mission to get preventative coping skills into the hands of every teen in this country. Oh my God, what a wonderful job. After working with her son, she struggles with anxiety. Shaney sees how powerful it is when kids have the tools to help themselves. And with keeping that in mind, she wrote the book Back Pocket Tools for Teens to Nurture Their Mental Health, as well as an accompanying workshop, which is a compilation of tools she's seen work best with her son, as well as hundreds of kids that she's worked for. So with that, let's welcome Shaney on our show. Shaney, we are very, very pleased to have you, and I'm sure our audience are going to learn a lot from you, and I do hope they get a hand on your book soon enough.
Well, good. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So tell us, I study youth behaviors, and I see mental health being a big topic in every school and every college. Why do you think so many kids are struggling with their mental health today?
You know, I've thought about this for a long time, and I have come up with something that I truly, truly believe. And I believe that kids in today's world are not organically learning coping skills anymore. I just think the world is different. I think technology is a big factor. And I think the way kids cope now is with the phone, unfortunately. They're having a bad day, they're struggling with whatever, anxiety, depression, they go right to their phone. And I think, unfortunately, that just sort of exacerbates the problem. I think it makes it worse. We all know when we sit on our phone too long, physically, we feel yucky. And then, go down the rabbit hole of social media, you're just going to feel worse. So I don't think they know how to cope. So then when they have something in life that they are to cope with, they don't know how. They don't know what to pull out to use. And I think that's what it is, bottom line.
That is so well said. And that's why, as your book says, back pocket tools, right? It really speaks of that same thing. Now, I know I've had a glimpse into your book and you speak about happy hormones, right now strategies, practicing gratitude, positivity, trying to put down phones, all of these things. But what led you to really write Back Pocket? Because these are the things that we've been talking about for a really long time. What was your driving factor to write this book?
Yeah. My son, Alex, struggled when he was in about 7th grade. And it was a situation where it popped up. I mean, he had slowly he was becoming more and more anxious, but in 7th grade, it came to a head and we didn't know what to do. My husband and family and I did not know what to do. And we tried different things. Should we ignore it? Should we add humor to it? Should we yell at him? I mean, we tried everything, and we didn't know how to handle it. And we found a therapist for Alex, and this therapist worked closely with him for a year, and it was amazing. I chose not to medicate him just because he was young, 7th grade. So I wanted him to learn these coping skills, and this therapist worked with him. And I always say to people, though, but Alex put the work in. He did the homework, he did the practicing, he did all the work. And so I saw it work. I saw it work with Alex. And now he's 23. He lives out in Colorado. He's doing amazing. And I don't even know the times and situations he's had to pull these tools out of his pocket, but I know he has them because today, his fear is flying. And so it's something he doesn't have to do every day, but I see him when I'm on an airplane with him. I see him start and he starts to breathe and he starts to distract himself and he starts to use these tools. And so I wrote the book sort of for 7th grade Alex. I want kids to sort of proactively and preventively learn tools so when they need them in life, they have them to pull out and use.
More power to Alex and more power to you for
I'm so proud of him.
Absolutely. You should be really, really proud of him. And I know all of these tools are present and we're so quick to medicate our children. You know what? I have so many stories that I could go on, and we'll probably talk about this offline, but so many stories when parents come to me and say, I want to medicate my kids. I'm just at the fag end of my nerves. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
You're telling your child to put a lid on their emotions, and
I
you're
know.
telling them, you know what, you cannot cope. Just take a magic pill, and everything's going to be okay.
Right. It was amazing. This therapist was like he was number 4 of 4. And the first 3, I would go in, I'd say, I'm just going to tell you now, before we start, I don't want to medicate him. Within 15 minutes, medication was mentioned. And so I just, I'm not against medication. I do think it does wonders for a lot of people. But in that case, he was too young. And he needed to learn how to cope.
Yeah. I have different views on medication, and I don't think I want to air those views. But yes, I think children should first be given all of the coping skills before they're taken to medication. So I am so with you, because otherwise, for the rest of their lives, they're going to resort to medication. I mean, look at Alex. Alex is 23 because you taught him coping skills at 7 years of age. Today, he's using those coping skills.
Right.
Versus if you're given him medication at that point, he would be using medication at 23. God bless you. Right? Yes. Oh my God, that is so good. That is so well said. Thank you so much for writing that and bringing that to the forefront for all our youth. So everybody listening to this, go pick up Back Pocket Tools and look what Shaney has written. I think she's done an amazing job. Now, Shaney, all of these tools have always been available. People talk about gratitude. People talk about oxytocin, all the happy hormones. They talk about the right now strategies. Keeping a positive mindset. Why do you think your book is resonating with kids? What is it different? Why is it different?
It's short. It's very short. It's 87 pages, and the last 30 are all quotes. So it's very short. And I know if I were to give a big book to Alex in 7th grade, he would have laughed in my face, and it would have, collected dust. So I think that immediately says, okay, maybe I can do this. It's written for teens. It's written super, super conversational and relevant. So I don't know, there's one sentence I talk about Chipotle, and, I talk about things that they can relate to. I disclaim at the beginning, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. So I have no reasons why your happy hormones are being accessed. I'm not going to get into medical jargon. So no jargon in it. It's very let's sit down and talk about this. And I think the other thing that's resonating is that it's organized. It's so I think kids hear mental health, try this. They hear so many things from so many different people. They're like, I don't know what to do. This is a little bit organized, try chapter 1. If you don't like it, try chapter 2. If you don't like it, it just feels like it's just a little bit more cohesive, I guess.
I have to buy this book. I really have to buy this book. And I think every teen should have it. I hear from parents all the time. I'm a coach for teens, as you know. I hear from parents all the time that my child is very ungrateful. I'm like, dude, you're not teaching him gratitude. How is the child going to know what gratitude is?
Yeah.
Right? How many times do you tell them the power of gratitude to be grateful for the air that you breathe, be grateful for the food that you eat and the bed that you sleep in?
Right. And it's so powerful when kids can get to that point, because I really do think it can change your mood in, a matter of minutes. I really do.
Completely. It can take away misery from you. Totally take away misery from you. So I'm with you on this. So now you did mention to us that you do a lot of work on mental health. Can you tell us what else do you do on mental health other than this book?
So I'm a special ed teacher. That's where I started. So I've worked with, behavioral issues, emotional issues in kids for 25 years. In 2019, I founded and started a nonprofit here in Middleton, Wisconsin called Bridge Volunteering. And Bridge was a volunteer center for teens. And I was trying to address mental health by way of volunteering. I worked with one local high school, and this high school had a 40-hour volunteer work requirement for graduation. So I thought, let's get in there. Let's ramp this up, make it super value add and make it super effective. So killing 2 birds with 1 stone type thing. So I would find or manufacture volunteer opportunities for kids. And we did some really, really cool things. So my favorite one was I got a big group of kids together, and we went to the Middleton Senior Center, and we did phone tutorials. So we matched kids up with seniors and taught them how to use their phones and access their emails and stuff like that. That was awesome. We did a lot with the homeless community in Madison. We did a lot with special needs kids, just a lot of things that were like immediately feel good activities. Unfortunately, COVID hit and no one wanted volunteers, and I didn't want kids going in and volunteering. And then the high school decided to drop the volunteer requirement, unfortunately. So that was going to be an uphill battle trying to make kids volunteer if they didn't have to, you know? So, but I had mental health on my mind. So I tried to start a club at the high school, like a Happy Hormones Club, where I would bring in therapy dogs or yoga classes or jewelry making classes and all this different stuff. And that was good, but it was hard to go into the schools. Just, I don't know, there was a lot of red tape. Let's just put it that way. So that's where the book came about. And the book, like I said, took off in ways I didn't quite expect. So I developed this program for the book to be taught in schools. And the program makes the book come to life. And so, you know, I really think that kids learning these skills is just it's just needed, necessary, and it's validating to me that, you know, there's such a big need. So my mental health, I guess, background has been a long time coming, and it's sort of come to fruition in this program. And I feel like, you know, this is where it's going to be for a while.
Isn't it amazing how the universe creates a path for us and we don't even know?
Yes. I never thought it was going to lead to this. This book really came to me in my sleep one night. I woke up the next day. I'm like, I got to write this book. And I got up and I wrote for 3 days, and my hands were so cramped up, I had to soak them in ice buckets. And it just came out of nowhere. So I didn't plan for this, I guess.
I always tell everybody, nothing is by coincidence. Everything is by design. Everything is by design. So yes, I can totally understand.
I tell kids a lot too, you know, because I work with such struggling kids. I forgot to mention, I guess the main thing is that my current job now is I'm a teacher at a child and adolescent psychiatric hospital here in Madison. So I work with kids that are, you know, frontline. I call my line frontline work. These are these strugglers of all struggling kids, you know. But they're just, you know, they're at a point in life where it's just hard. And I always tell them what you said, Dr. Jane. I say, you don't know what life's going to bring you. Like, you could leave here and save someone's life in the parking lot. You know, you could meet your best friend this year. You could take a class that might change the whole trajectory of your life, you know, that you might like so much, you might become a professional in that. You know, you don't know what life's going to bring. You could win the lottery, you know. So I do think it's important for kids to get that message too, because, you know, I like I said, the kids I work with have a real discouraged look at life at the point I see them.
Youth at any point as they're growing up, they've seen so much, especially this generation, and I study Generation Z, so I have particular soft spot for them. But this generation has they're born with the phone in their hands. And they've seen the worst. They've seen the pandemic. They've seen, they've seen a war. They've seen all sorts of things. Yeah. So it's very hard for them to keep their chin up.
Right. Well, I sort of want to piggyback on that for a second, because I was talking with someone the other day, and we were talking about COVID. You know, everyone always says, oh, the kids after COVID. And I wanted to dig in and get an answer to that. Why do I think so many kids are struggling after COVID? And I do think there's the obvious reasons. I do think, you know, like they could have had people die. There could be obvious reasons. But I also think that these kids had the rug pulled out from them. They all of a sudden one day were blindsided, and they couldn't go to school, and they couldn't talk to friends, and they had to stay home. And it's scary. I know when I was in high school, I was not a worrier, and I had 2 friends die in a car accident. And from that day on, I was a worrier because I had been blindsided. And so I feel like now kids had that situation. And so now they're trying to control their whole life, and they can't. And I'm finding it, especially in girls, you know, like with schoolwork. I mean, they are complete perfectionists, and they are perfectionists in their looks and in their whole life. And that's a hard thing to achieve, you know, perfection. But I do think a lot of that came from COVID, because they're like, I don't want to be blindsided again. I want to control what I can, and I want to know exactly what's going on. So I do think the whole pulling the rug out from under them had a factor in this whole.
I think this leads me on to my next question, Shaney, because it's so important not to let go of that control factor. Because if we don't let go of that control factor, we're really inviting misery.
Right.
Right?
You'll
Because
never
we're
get
living
there.
in the future. You'll never get there. When you're trying to control every aspect of your life, there's nothing you can control except you.
Right. I had a story yesterday or the other day. I was working with some kids, and a girl came up to me, and I don't remember how the conversation started, but I said that to her. I said, do you think you're a perfectionist? She said, yes, I do. And I said, well, you're never going to get there, you know. And I told someone that all the kids in the classroom turned to me like almost like sunflowers, like their heads turned to me like, wait, what are you saying? And they were listening. They resonated with that comment. And so we got in this whole conversation about perfection and, you know, getting B's on their report cards or, you know, like all this stuff. And I was like, you guys, like, what's the worst that can happen? And then I challenged them. I said, when you leave here, what I want you to do is I want you to take your phone and record all of your issues or all of your problems, all of your worries, and, you know, puke it out onto your phone and leave it onto there and look back at it in like a month, 6 months, a year. You will probably laugh at those problems and you'll be like, what? I was worried about that. Now, you probably will have new problems and worries in their place, but I want you to see that, you know, that's how it goes. Like the thing you think is the sky is falling probably isn't going to be in a month or 6 months.
Yeah. And teenagers' skies fall very often.
Yes. Yes.
So, yes. But here is what I think I'm going to tie this on to another question. What can parents do to stop this perfection that they're trying to achieve? Because there is nothing called perfection. I always like to say there is nothing called perfection. It's only excellence.
Yes.
So what can parents do to stop their kids from trying to become perfect?
You know, well, the obvious thing is to not set those expectations, you know, because a lot of the kids were saying, my parents will be mad at me. That's a fine line though, because I feel like you also want to push them. That's our job as parents. So you don't want to just say, hey, do what you want. You do want to push them a little bit. So I
think if you don't tie your happiness to it.
Right.
If parents don't tie their happiness to grades or tie a reward to any kind of achievement, then they can probably lower the impact.
Right.
What do you say?
And I think parents know their kids best. So like maybe a kid does need a little push, like a little incentive or a punishment or something like that. I know I did in high school. I needed a kick in the butt. And so, but I
needed it too.
There's a lot of parents that push in unhealthy ways. And I don't know if that's necessarily realistic or helpful at all. You know, I don't know. I mean, I was working with kids at a psychiatric hospital yesterday, worried about their grades. And so we played the what's the worst that can happen game. And it was like, my parents will be mad at me. And I'm like, jeepers, like you're in a mental hospital right now. Like maybe they should, you know, like maybe we should rethink this strategy of motivating you in your grades. But I don't know. I would love to talk to parents though in this setting, because I would have loved that when Alex was in 7th grade. Now he had a different situation where he had a debilitating fear of throwing up, but it affected his whole life. He couldn't go to school. He couldn't, you know, hang with friends. He couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. It was all consuming. And I would have loved to talk to another parent at that point, because what I would have loved to hear that will be my message right now is just hold on. It will get better. Like things ebb and flow. And my son Alex will say that too. Like it gets better and life goes like this. So just hang on. It's not always going to be like this. You know, be present, slow things down at home. Just sort of concentrate on this and you'll be fine.
Yes. If every parent slows down, and understands that it's not a race for you, not a race for the child. No. And really what matters in the end is the child's happiness. And you know what? The destiny is only written. As long as the child is working hard.
Yes.
And I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Even when Alex was going through his hardest time, we were just in a time in our life that there was a lot of stuff going on, like, you know, a lot of things on weekends, and we were busy and we were going to this and that and all kinds of things. And my husband and I sat down, we said, you know what, we need to be home on weekends. We need to just slow it down. And that was I think that was a huge factor in Alex's demeanor. I think he just felt safer, and I just think he felt more comfortable. And I'm not saying that was the cure, but I'm saying that contributed to changing him.
That does contribute. I mean, I like to look at it like this. A child is always mirroring a parent's behavior.
Yeah.
They believe the parent the most. If the parent constantly tells the child that you have low confidence or you have low self-esteem, the child is going to learn to believe that they have low confidence and low self-esteem just because their parents said so.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? So if we change the dialogue, if we slow down as a parent, there will be a tremendous difference in the child's behavior.
Yes. And now I get that sometimes a lot easier said than done. I don't know every parent's situation and what they're going through or, whatever, but I don't know. I think it's a valuable, I don't know if I call it a skill, but a valuable thing to do in your child's healing.
Yes, I tell every parent, I think if we just focus on ourselves as parents, half our problems will be solved.
Yes, right. You're right.
Because there are a lot of things that we say and do that we come from either our own past triggers,
yes,
our culture, our background, or our childhood baggage.
Right.
And which is why we don't allow our children to be who they are.
Yes.
And we want to control the outcome of their lives because maybe our outcome of our lives was controlled. Maybe.
Right. So I have an Instagram channel, and my son Alex and I sat down for an hour a few weeks ago and talked about his time when he was struggling. And it was really good because he talked about all the things we did wrong, all the things we did right, little excerpts that we said, little things we said to him that he still uses, that I was like, God, I don't even remember saying that. But at the end, I said, what is the message you would give to parents? And that's what he said. He said, this will get better. Kids grow out of it in ways. They learn coping skills, they mature. And then he said, and the other thing I want them to know is when I think back to 7th grade, that's not what I think about. I think about my soccer team and, my friends and my school. So that's good to know. Like, this is not scarring them. They will not, be forever sort of scarred by this situation they're going through. They do get through this. And, I don't know why we're so sensitive to this these days. I mean, I know there's a lot of issues, but I feel like I went through this kind of stuff as a teen too. It wasn't so spotlighted, and highlighted.
I think it's exasperated now. And part of it could be because the shootings going on, because of what's happening around the world, and because how children are suffering and committing suicide. Suicide rates have increased. Shootings have been, gun violence has increased.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's under the spotlight. And primarily, I think also because of technology, because these kids are so drawn to technology and there's so much more awareness and visibility of all of these issues that they get exasperated.
Yeah.
So,
I think so. Yeah.
So
anxiety is just thrown around so loosely now, though. It's like
anxiety and depression.
What?
Anxiety and depression, 2 words which are thrown around very loosely.
Yeah. And sometimes I think, well, that's part of life, and it's part of that's a feeling. It's a feeling that we all have. So,
and all you need to do is really manage those feelings by the back pocket tools that you talk about so much.
Right.
By the happy hormones, by the right now strategies, by breathing, by practicing gratitude, by having a positive mindset, and make sure you put away your phones in a certain amount of time in a day. I mean, these are all the things that you can do to cope with that anxiety.
Yeah.
So do you really think there's any hope regarding this teen mental health crisis that we're talking about right now?
I definitely do. I definitely think there's hope. I think it's so sort of it's out in the open now. We are talking about it. People are learning. They're trying to get better. I just think it's spotlighted now to a point where people are wanting it to get better. I really want people to think of mental health just like physical health. And I think, when physical health sort of came into play, I guess you could say, in the 1950s or 60s, in schools and stuff like that, I think there was probably a crisis on their hands then too. Like, oh my gosh, people are getting these diseases at higher rates and all this stuff. That was the physical health crisis. And they fixed it. I shouldn't say fixed it. They added some things. They added physical fitness in schools and all kinds of regulations in the nutritional labels and pyramids and all that stuff. And I think that's where we're getting now. And if I could snap my fingers and make a change that would be sort of universal, I wish schools would teach more preventative things and more proactive things. I think right now they're focusing a little bit on late stage stuff, suicide signs and symptoms, even depression signs and symptoms. But if we could just move a little bit more upstream and teach kids preventatively, I think that might move the needle a little bit more. So I do think, as I've gotten into this world, I see so many people in this space. So that's encouraging. Yes. It's very encouraging.
Yes, there are a lot of people in this space. And as people are going through their own personal journeys, like you and I did, they're stepping up more and more to support teen mental health.
Right.
And I think children are also getting more and more aware. And schools and colleges are taking preventative measures to include mental health in the syllabus. Yeah. So yes, we have moved the needle, and coaching is becoming huge nowadays. I mean, I have a lot of teens that I coach. I think coaching makes a huge impact, because one of the things that everybody has to say is our children don't listen to us. And when they come to me and they say, our children don't listen to us, maybe they'll listen to you. And it's like, I'm no different than you. Right. And why would they listen to me? They won't listen to me even more, because I'm a parent. I'm not their parent.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to say. Coaching is not about advice. The reason they listen to a coach is because we allow them to explore themselves.
Yeah.
And to come to their own conclusions themselves while guiding them through the process.
Right.
So that's why coaching has been so impactful with teens.
Yes, for sure. I think it's great.
So yes, this has been such an excellent conversation, and I can go on and on, Shaney, with you, but I'm sure our audience are going to tune out if I go on and on. So I know Back Pocket has partnered with hundreds of schools and districts, hospitals, boys and girls clubs, and high school sports teams, and other social services organizations to bring these back pocket tools into a larger space. So congratulations on that. I am super, super excited for you, and I think you're doing such excellent work. So thank you. Very grateful for allowing us to interview you on our show. We're very blessed to have you, and I'd love to meet Alex one day to see what a nice young man he's become. Yes. So thank you so much, Shaney. We'd love to have you. And if there's a last piece of wisdom that you'd like to share with us, please, with our audience, any closing statement?
Yes, there's one more statement I want to share to parents. I think, if parents were like, tell me what to do. The one thing I would tell parents what to do, along with the slowing down, is don't have your kids' identity be their mental health. If they have mental health issues, focus on other things. Make them more than just their mental health, because I think I see so many older kids that can't get out of that. Like, the only thing I can talk about is my mental health. So we need to make it more than that. We need to make them more than their mental health. And that's a huge, huge suggestion I would have to parents,
I totally agree. Don't give them labels.
No.
Don't worry so much about their mental health. I totally agree with you.
No, I don't ignore it, but let's just focus on other things too, because I think it can just make it their identity.
Yeah. And they worry about it more than you do. And just because you said it, that's why they say, okay.
Right.
So, Thank you so much, Shaney. We'd love to have you. It was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a wonderful day. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.